What's up, guys? It's Bud Texas Gaming here. Welcome back to another Rise of Nations video. In today's video, we are the nation of Germany, and our goal is to take over Poland, take over Austria and the Czech Republic, and hopefully invade Russia. So, as always, if you enjoy these videos on the channel, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and let's jump right in. So, in today's video, we are Germany, which already is somewhat difficult to get, and not as difficult as it used to be, thanks to the reserve country system. But overall, it is a much kind of difficult nation to obtain. And one thing I tend to do now is I tend to just record anything I do, even if I'm not intentionally went out and record. I'm decide, hey, I want to record a video. One thing I'm trying to do is I'm recording anything that happens. So, you know, that's one of the things that kind of helped out. You know, I had a little bit of an idea when the game started. Was I want to go after, you know, the big three: Poland, Czech, Austria, and then I wanted to try and get the Netherlands. You see, France ended up getting most of it, and I ended up only getting 2 cities. Which then I'm like, all right, next I want to go after Denmark. UK went after Denmark as well. I think a majority of the cities. It was more or less UK took like 3 cities from Denmark, and then I went down and got Slovenia. Why? Who knows? And then later on, I'm like, I can't expand east because I've allied Ukraine. I can't expand west because I allied France. Can't really expand north because that's a little bit difficult. So there's really only one direction you can go: south. What country is south of Germany? Italy. So I went against the grain and invaded Italy. And let's just say they fought back, but it was, it did not end well for Italy. I ended up eventually taking them out pretty well, and they were in the middle of invading Greece, so that was another plus I was able to get. They were trying to come at me with about 2,000 tanks. I was coming at them with 4,000, so yeah, just about that number. I was just with that number, I was able to really do it. And early on, I thought, when they were bringing all the forces over, I'm like, this invasion might fail. But I quickly took them out, and the rest is history. Eventually I took northern France and just made my way down the peninsula, down to capture the rest of Italy. I realized, they're invading Greece, so I justified on them, and then just let whatever happened take its course. And after Italy, I really didn't invade anybody else. I relatively stayed to myself. I took that time to develop my economy. I had a little bit of low stability sometimes, so I was using that time, not only during the war, but especially after it, to stabilize my country. I really wasn't going for any formables in this run. I would say it was more or less just trying to, quickly expand before anybody else took the land. Because you see how easily Italy folded after they sent their forces. Once I took those out, Italy folded easily. And I will say Hungary ends up getting killed eventually, along with parts of Russia. Russia end up just collapsing from low stability. But one of the things is, I had paid Russia $500 million for Kaliningrad. I didn't end up getting it until after I'd already ended the footage. And pretty much what happened was late game. See, with Canada, Canada ended up declaring war on me, which you should see later on. And I had produced destroyers. I even told myself after was looking at the footage, and I'm like, if I would have left those destroyers, Mexico would have had a lot harder time invading me, because they didn't bring any battleships. It was just destroyers, and I had 5 near the canal. So I mean, if I left those there, it would have been a lot harder for them to land. They probably would have had to land somewhere near Denmark. But another thing is, I was AFK at the time. I wasn't really focused on the game, and you will see that later on. I wasn't really focused on the game. You'll see that close to the end of the video. But I received a comment, and I'm going to put it on the screen. They basically said, I'm going to try to go off memory, that way I don't have to go look at it. But they were like, love the content, but do less music. And the way I responded was, okay, I mainly do the music that way I'm not rambling as much, because I feel like not a lot of people want to hear me rant or ramble. But they said, instead, fill that time with tips and tricks. And you're going to see that in tomorrow's video, as that's one thing I did. I added tips and tricks to the video. And I'm going to add a few here. There's one of two ways. I went one way, but you could go a different way if you did this. One is you could ally Italy. You don't necessarily have to take Italy out. But another thing is you can take France out. For me, I chose to ally them. And main reason is I felt like they were a little bit of a better French player. Because sometimes you can get a very, very formidable France player. Other times you can just get a noob who just really wanted to play France, and yeah, you know what happens. So the border could have looked way different if I chose to go after France, but I chose not to, and the main reason is just that I just did not want to have to do all that. And eventually later on, I don't think I ever regretted it. Even UK one time asked, hey, are you going to go after France? I'm like, no, I thought we're allied. I guess they may have broke ties and I just didn't notice. But yeah, I really couldn't go east. I couldn't go west. And after Italy and Greece, I basically stopped expansion and focused primarily on economy. But yeah. And eventually it got to a point where, I was debating on even continuing the video, because it had got to a point where nothing major was going on involving me. Even though you can see it in the video right now that France and UK are going at it. The main thing I wanted from that was Switzerland. That's the main thing I wanted from it. And even then, I still don't think France fully was taken. I don't remember. But I think by the time the end of the video happens, I think maybe UK will end up winning. But, end up taking 3v1 against France. UK, I think Morocco, and Canada was going after France. Even though Canada never landed troops in France. I think Canada was just going after the money. They saw, oh, France is about to get taken. I might be able to get me some money. So Canada may have been in financial troubles, but they would not let me leave that war. That is why you can see I put destroyers up north and south. If I would have left those there, thinking, But thing is, I figured I would have time to redeploy them or rebuild them. I was figuring. That's what I figured. But another thing is, it was a waste of money. I was a peaceful country. I was not focused on invading anybody. And really, I was just discussing on purchasing land, if that's even more funny. But yeah, eventually, stuff ended up happening. And one thing I'll say would be, if you're going to try to do this or replicate this, your best bet is to go build your infrastructure up early. So factories, recruitment centers, anything you need. And then what I did is I went constitutional monarchy. I don't think that's going to really matter. But Canada basically prevented me from getting Kaliningrad. So, that's pretty much what happened. And then what's funny is the Mexico player, they were so begging me to leave the part in. And I'm like, no. Because only reason it was still in the video was simply because of the fact that I kept recording. Even after the war ended, I ended up trying to reform, and that same player became Albania and ended up preventing me from reuniting my lands, because they basically released all of them because they were so begging. They were begging me to be in the video, and I'm like, I was having none of it. I was already done. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. If you want to see more content like this on the channel, smash that thumbs up button. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.